Hello again. Yeah, I've talked a lot about the musicals that I went to go see, but I also did some other really cool stuff while I was down there. Obviously, a lot of the week was taken up in musical theatre, but you know me, I can't go anywhere without having a little historical expedition. I decided to try a few things that I haven't done either for a long while or I've never ever seen before while I was down there, which isn't easy because I kind of do a lot of museums and stuff, so it's quite hard to find something out of the ordinary and new for me. But I managed to succeed, which I'm really pleased about. Um, Basically, I got the train down on Tuesday, and got to London at about 11. So by like 12 o'clock, once I'd checked in and dumped my bags and wandered down to sort of Trafalgar Square, central London kind of area, I was like, right, let's do this thing, let's kick this off in style. So I went to Westminster Abbey, which I've never been to. Um, but last year, I think it was last year, they opened as part of like a kind of lottery grant Queen's Jubilee type thing. They opened the galleries up around the top of Westminster Abbey, which have not been open to the public for 700 years. 700 years the British public have not set foot up there. So when I got to the desk and they were like, oh, it's another fiver to go in the galleries, which is this area, do you want to do it? I was like, yes, of course I do. How could I not want to do that? So you basically get a time so it's not busy up there. But she was like, oh, I've got 1 o'clock and this is at like 12:30. So I was like, yeah, that's cool. I can do that. So she was like, you need to go through there and speak to that man in the red coat and he'll let you through this velvet rope, and then you speak to another man at there and he'll let you through another velvet rope, and then you go kind of up these stairs and go see some new different stuff that are on display for the first time. And in this area that, unless you were like a 15th century monk, people haven't been in. Like, it's crazy. Like, the last sort of people that were up there were like, you know, abbots and things. I went and did that, and the abbey itself is so worth visiting, but the galleries were phenomenal, mind blowing if you're a history kind of nerd and enthusiast like me. So you go to the galleries, and it's kind of in a couple of different sections. It's like sort of the building of the abbey and structure, and then it's about things that have happened there and its relationship to the royal family, and because it's a royal peculiar, there's no other place like it in all of Britain. Um, so they had things like the bits of the bells and sort of the actual wooden structure you could see about how it's actually held up, that date from like the 14th century, the 13th century, even a little bit before that. They had a copy of the Magna Carta, which I've never seen before, so I was really amazed at seeing that. I was really excited to see that. They had Margaret Beaumont's travelling chest, who is Henry VII's mother. They had her like prayer books and things like that that she would have gone travelling with, and they were absolutely like exquisite and beautiful pictures and handwritten by monks and things like that. It was just crazy. They had, going more modern, they had Prince William and the Duchess of Cambridge's wedding licence. They had that framed. That blew my mind. Saying on this, that, and the other day, the Queen gives permission for, I can't remember what it said. It was something like our beloved subject, Catherine Elizabeth Middleton, to marry His Royal Highness Prince William, blah, blah, blah. So that was on display. That was amazing. One of the things that they have got that it took me a minute to kind of go, what the hell is this? It was like a load of coffins, but it was the effigies from the funerals of kings and queens of England. So what they used to do was, there used to be a coffin, obviously, but then there'd be an effigy of them on the top so that you could see this is what is technically inside. And they were like stuffed figures. Given my fear of mannequins, it was slightly less than ideal, but I was like, I'm torn between terror and historical intrigue. I didn't know which to go for. But a lot of them didn't have proper faces, so I was kind of alright. It was the effigies that were on top of coffins of, you know, Charles II. There was his effigy. Blew my mind. That was from that time period. They had Elizabeth I's effigy, complete with one of her corsets on, and she was thin, man. She was thin. Yeah, there was like James I, all that kind of era, sort of like 15th, 16th, 17th century is when it was really popular to have these effigies on the top of the coffin. So there was a load of effigies from that sort of era. It was incredible. And you could look over the balcony and see all what was going on in the nave and everyone around there. It's probably because you're not allowed near the tomb of Edward the Confessor because it's so old. Like, obviously it's like 11th century. You can't go walking on the tiles and you can't go see the tomb. It's kind of shuttered off. It's not really shuttered off, it's just got other tombs around it of kings and queens, medieval kings and queens, and sort of 15th, 16th, 17th century ones. So you can't go in it, but if you look over from the balcony, you can see all of what's inside in his tomb. It's the best view for Edward the Confessor in the Abbey. So it's definitely worth that extra £5 just to go up there for that. I was like getting all... every time I turned a corner and saw something else, you know, so I was going to a kid and going, right, what's in this one? Holy crap! You know, for a history nerd, it was brilliant. The Abbey itself was brilliant. I was looking at Anne of Cleves' grave before I went to go see Six that night. It was really kind of bizarre. I was like, okay, I've seen you once today. Loved it. They've got, obviously, really, really famous burials in there. They've got all the kings and queens, obviously. Charles II. They've got Mary and Elizabeth in together, which I always think must have really annoyed one of them somewhere in the afterlife. At the very least, one of them, if not both of them. They've got Mary Queen of Scots, who is actually in a bigger tomb than both of those two because it was built by James I, and he was like, ha ha ha, you cut my mum's head off, I'm going to make sure she's more important than you in the afterlife, pal. So he gave her this really ornate kind of tomb and everything. Yeah, it was just incredible. It was incredible. You stand there in front of these sort of these coffins, like sarcophagi, whatever you want to call them, and just standing there and thinking, this is mind blowing. Elizabeth I is inside here. You know, you're standing there going, Charles II is under my feet right now, or you know, Anne Neville and who's there, who's the wife of Richard III. I actually couldn't find her. She was on the audio guide and I'm like, I can't see her. And this guide was like, are you looking for anything in particular? I said, oh, it's telling me to look out for Anne Neville, but I can't quite sort of lay my hands on her. And she was like, oh, it's this one here. And it was like brass, but you couldn't really read it properly. It wasn't very clear because the sunlight was shining on it. And I was like, oh, you know, I must have been just been sun in my head. I couldn't see it. She went, what it is, and we're not supposed to tell you this, is sort of sometime between Victorian era and now, we tried to clean it and used the wrong stuff, and we've damaged it so you can't actually see it very clearly. Like, that's been there since like 1470 or something crazy like that. And sometime in the last century, some idiots just used Mr. Sheen and annihilated it. Like, I love that. Like, I mean, it sort of makes me wince and draw a breath, but at the same time, it's one of those things that in 200, 300 years, when the Abbey's still there, someone's going to use that as a, went people in the 20th century crazy? This is what they did. What were they thinking? We know so much better than that. It's those little bits of history that I find really fascinating. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. I was also stood looking at Isaac Newton, and another guy came up and went, are you looking for anyone in particular? I said, oh, I'm just you know, reading Newton's tomb. And she was like, alright, it's just if you're looking for anyone else, you are actually stood on Stephen Hawking. And I was like, oh yeah, I am. His grave's brilliant. It's got like scientific formulas and bits of sort of diagrams of space and stuff on it. I like that. I like the fact that he's gone in an abbey and just gone, science is more important, thank you. I like that about him. Yeah, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, all those really important, brilliant things are there. Poets Corner, every time you look around, I was just gasping. Apparently what it is Chaucer is there. Chaucer, Geoffrey Chaucer. And there was a bit of a point in like sort of the 19th century and sort of slightly before where people went, I'm actually a really big admirer of Chaucer and, you know, famous writers I'm going for. Can I get buried near him? Yep, you're in there. And then it sort of grew and became a bit of a thing that all these artists and writers either have a monument there, because there's one to the Brontes, and I'm thinking, I know damn well I'm in there because I've seen her at Scarborough. And none of them are, they're all up our way. But yeah, there's the monument to Shakespeare. I was stood there like, right, who am I about? Oh, I'm stood on top of Charles Dickens. Unbelievable. I'm stood on top of Charles Dickens. There was a bit at the end of the audio tour where I was sat sitting, and I realised that I was sat next to Laurence Olivier, and I was like, all right, Larry. Yeah, it's just incredible to think that so many influential and brilliant people are there. So yeah, Westminster Abbey, definitely recommend, definitely. And because we all know how I like these things, got a little William Shakespeare because he's got a monument there. Yay! Shakespeare was a theme of my week because the following day I went to the Globe. A walk to the Globe, it's miles to the Globe, and the guide there was like, does anyone want to demonstrate a death scene? I'll show you how we got the capsules of blood into people's mouths. So that was me. So I'm going to put on my CV that I performed a death scene at the Globe. Definitely going to use that as an interesting fact the next time I go to a meeting and they want one. Like, yeah, I've played Lavinia in Titus Andronicus at the Globe. I'm having that. Yeah, I loved it. Did you know there's no nails or anything holding the Globe together? It's literally wood and wooden pegs. And I remember Katie Hill putting thatch on the roof of that on Blue Peter, so that made me feel old. But yeah, that was really interesting. The acoustics in there are insane. Apparently they don't have microphones. They're wired for them, just in case like a director chooses to have microphones for something louder, and for when they sort of sometimes beam it to cinemas, they have it wired up for microphones. But if you're actually in the theatre, she stood right next to the stage and we stood right at the back, and she whispered like this, and we heard everything perfectly. It's phenomenal. It's really phenomenal. And then on the way back, I passed the Houses of Parliament, and I thought, I've been to Parliament Square. I've gone around all the statues. I've said hello to Churchill. I thought that counts as going somewhere. So, Guy Fawkes. He's got a little bag of gunpowder, just in case you can't see, and a match, which is terribly dangerous. But yeah, God knows I love a historical bauble. So that was the one I got that day. I made notes because I forget where I've been on what day. So that was the Globe. Oh yeah, Wednesday I went to the Museum of London because they're changing locations in not very long. Can't remember when it is. Don't know if it's next year after. So I thought I'd go there because I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to go to the old site again. And I love that it's just in this little rotunda on a roundabout, and you go up the other side of the street and walk over. Yeah, I've been before. Obviously not much has changed. I did feel like a bit of the modern one had changed insofar as, maybe I'm just being thick, but I couldn't see the paintings by Ronnie Cray, which I really like because they're crap. And I just imagined some prison guard when he hands him this drawing that looks like it's been done by a child, just going, lovely Ronnie, lovely. So yeah, I enjoy that. But yeah, I couldn't find them. Victorian Street was getting done out for Christmas. Yeah. Very much see previous blogs for that one. I wish that I could go into the pleasure gardens and see all the old, how it was laid out in the old gardens that people used to go promenading and looking at all clothes, but it's dark and there's mannequins and it terrifies me, so I skipped that bit again. And then I went for a nap because I was tired by that point, really tired. And, I'd done 2 shows the night before and I needed to recover because it was Anne Juliet, but I had a nap, felt better. So yeah. Then, Friday, I went to Brompton Cemetery because it's my ambition to visit all the magnificent 7 cemeteries in London, and Brompton is number 2 that I've been to. I've been to Highgate and Brompton. So, Brompton was laid out as like a garden design. It was supposed to be like a cathedral, kind of. There's walkways that do that and veer out like a nave and go back in. And underneath there are catacombs. You can't go in them, obviously, but there's catacombs. But there's room for, like, thousands of people in these walkways. and apparently it was really fashionable at the time that the cemetery was designed to have a catacomb. And then while it was being built, everyone went, they're giving off lead and they're popping with all these coffins. It's terribly dangerous. We don't really like them. Which was a massive problem. So apparently there's room for thousands and thousands of bodies, and there's only like 400 underneath them because the exterior walls are all catacombs as well. But it just died. Did the trend? No pun intended. It died. Did the trend for that while it was being built. So the designer of the cemetery got sacked because it was an absolute financial flop. What I love about Brompton is there's people of all walks of life and nationalities and religions and all kinds of things in there because it was a commercial cemetery. So when I say commercial cemetery, I don't mean it was like some of them are sort of Christian burial sites or Jewish cemeteries or whatever. This was basically you pay your money, you get in. And I really like that because you've got graves that are written in languages that I don't understand next to Dr. Such a Body, who was obviously very well to do. They've got an amazing fenced off garden for military graves that date from sort of the Crimea onwards, and they've got a brilliant monument in the middle with all these cannonballs and things and graves that go all the way around it, but they aren't graves, they're just monuments with a list of names on who people were lost in service that don't have their bodies found. It's a beautiful cemetery. It's beautiful. Probably the two people that you want to see when you're in there are Dr. Jon Snow, who famously took the pump handle off the pump when he discovered the link between people having bad sewage systems and toilets in the vicinity of where they were getting their water from, and it was spreading cholera. So he's in there. His tomb actually got damaged during the Blitz, and a lot of doctors clubbed together and rebuilt the tomb. So he's on his second gravestone, is Dr. Snow. Basically because he was so well regarded by the medical community, they just put it back together for him, which I love. I love that. So I was excited to see Dr. Jon Snow. I was a lot more excited because down the Central Avenue is the grave of Emmeline Pankhurst. So yeah, sort of when you think of the suffrage movement and women's rights and women's suffrage and all that era of fighting for equality, you think of Emmeline Pankhurst, don't you? You can't not. She's the name that's synonymous with it. And I'm massively, massively an admirer of hers. I think her and the suffragettes obviously are phenomenal, and the reason why I'm a woman that's able to stand on my own 2 feet and ponder which way to vote in the next election and spend my own money and go on holiday and do all these things and stand in front of her grave was because of her. So yeah, I went to sort of go and tip a little nod to her. I love the fact that people still lay flowers. Like, there was loads of flowers and stuff on her grave, and I like the fact that people go show their respect. There's a lot of purple flowers and a lot of white flowers, and I liked that people go with the suffragette colours and just give her a little nod and a token of thanks. So yeah, I was pleased with that. So yeah, then after that, because I was in the vicinity and I thought, well, why not? I went to the V&A because they do free tours throughout the day. It's a free museum, they do free tours. And the one that started at 2 o'clock was theatre and performance, which they have a theatre and performance gallery. It's like where you have to like hobble all the way up different stairs and down different corridors and stuff and go there. But yeah, there was a guided tour of it, and I thought that'd be interesting. I want to go there anyway. I may as well go to the tour. And it lasted about an hour. And this guy was like, he spent slightly more time on like the dance and ballet opera side of it than obviously I was more interested in, but he gave us some really, really amazing information. I'd been there years ago, and the temporary exhibit they had there was Phantom, and they had Geronimo Rauch's Red Death costume. The temporary exhibit they've got there now is like pantomime and warhorse and a few different things. It's updated since I last went. They've got a pair of Prince's shoes there, because he went, can anyone tell me, do they think these high heels belong to a man or a woman? And it had the symbol on the zip. I was like, I'm guessing by that it's a man. And he was like, you guessed correctly. Yeah, they've got Fred Astaire's suit, because he had all these suits for his films made in Savile Row. So they had that. They've got an exhibit on comedy and props. So that was, I think that's new because it had things that I don't remember seeing last time. So they've got like, what have they got? They've got Maxwell's shoes. They've got Charlie Chaplin's cane, which is just amazing. They've got some of Gracie Field's clogs. They've got Tommy Cooper's fez, Eric Morecambe's glasses, and the beret that Victoria Wood wore when she did Have You Seen My Friend Kimberly? They've got that. So that was all in one display case about comedy props. So I really, really enjoyed that. So they've got things that I've seen before there, like Elton John's suit. It was called Bicycle John. It looks like a bicycle. It's got handlebars and reflectors down the trousers and a little hubcap that used to change on every city of his American tour. So it'd say like California John or, I don't know, New York John or whatever. So they had that. They've got Adamant's Prince Charming suit. And then around the corner they've got Kerry Ellis's Elphaba dress. But it's paired with Idina Menzel's hat and boots. So I was like, it's two amazing performers right there combined. So yeah, I loved that. I would highly recommend you go seek the theatre exhibit out. Definitely. If you like any kind of theatre or any kind of performance, because it's not just that, it's about television, it's about film, it's about theatre itself, about musicals, about pantomime, about any kind of performance, you will enjoy it. Fred Astaire's suit, I mean, come on. Eric Morecambe's glasses, there's something for everyone in there, you've got to love it. They've also got the poster, and it's not the original, it's a copy, because Yoko Ono's got the original of this. It's the poster that John Lennon bought that inspired him to write For the Benefit of Mr. Kite on Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album. And it's a poster, and it's got everything in it. It's got the dancing horses, the trampolines, everything that you expect to see because it's referenced in the song. He literally went through the poster and wrote a song on it. So yeah, that was brilliant. Loved that. Yeah, and then my last morning before I got the train back, I went to the Postal Museum, which was really interesting. I was kind of, because I passed it on the way, I thought, do I not go there and go to the Dickens Museum? But I'm going to do that another time, because it's literally 2 streets back. But the Postal Museum was really interesting. You go on the mail rail, which is like an underground railway underneath London, obviously, and it's how they got the letters from one end of the railway to the other, because it could take absolutely all day, if not a day and a half, to get all the letters sorted and took to the other end of London and back and so forth. Whereas they can do London in 30 minutes, central London in 30 minutes under there. But you go in this little mail car, and I'm not kidding, my head was touching the top of it, and it was like that. It was like being in a coffin in the underground tracks. It's like being on an underground train, but at like a third of the size. There was one bit where they demonstrated a power cut, and I was not so keen on that because they didn't tell you they wanted to demonstrate a power cut. It just stopped and everything went dark, and I'm sat there like, yeah, slightly had a coronary. But yeah, it was really interesting. It showed you how they sort all the post and things like that. And then you go across to the actual post office museum where they've got all, they've got old phone boxes where you can dial the number like that, and it tells there's someone giving you an account of what's going on. You can decode Morse code if you want to. They can do a bit of that. You can see old post boxes or post outfits. Yeah, you can design your own stamp, which I need to check my emails. That I emailed myself a picture of my own face on a stamp. I need to check that. But the big exhibit that they've got at the minute is about the Great Train Robbery, which they've borrowed the actual evidence from the crime museum. So they recreated the kitchen where they caught the Great Train Robbers. I've seen the tomb of Bruce Reynolds, actually. I've seen his grave at Highgate. But it was really interesting to see all the evidence that caught him, because what the Great Train Robbers did is they were supposed to wear gloves the whole time that they were hiding out, and they just forgot and didn't. So they recreated the kitchen, but all this stuff inside it, they played Monopoly with the money, just cause. So they've got note bands, they've got the Monopoly board, they've got bottles of milk, they've got the teacups that they were drinking out of, and the glasses and the wine bottles, and the frying pans they were having the cooked breakfast on. It's got all the little stickers from the Met Police saying evidence number 1, evidence number da-da-da-da-da. But it's all the original stuff. It's all the original typed statements that they took from the railway employees and when they were interviewing all the suspects and things like that. So that was really interesting. Really, really interesting. I loved that. That was fascinating. The fact that it was the actual evidence blew my mind. And then just because I was... one last thing. Because he was influential in the penny stamp and everything, got a little Prince Albert. So yeah, I expanded my bauble collection a lot this week. So you can sit next to Victoria on my tree. Then I nipped to the British Library because I was a little bit early and I thought I'll go there, see what's what. I'd never been before, and they've got a Treasures of the British Library kind of gallery, which was heaving, I might say. There was another Magna Carta, and I'm thinking I've seen one of these. I got a bit blasé about the Magna Carta by that point. But they had the Papal Bull, which I hadn't seen, which completely redacted the Magna Carta. Saw that as well. They have got a first folio of Shakespeare. They have got, which I'd already seen at the V&A, incidentally. I was like, it's supposed to be really rare. I've seen 2 in a week. I got quite kind of casual about these things. They've got the handwritten lyrics from when Paul McCartney wrote Yesterday, complete with all the crossings out. From when John Lennon wrote Strawberry Fields Forever, complete with crossings out and things like that. Handwritten drafts from Jane Austen, from the Bronte sisters. Yeah, mind-blowing. A lot of the things that are in there, you can't believe that things like that have survived, and they have. And it's really important that they keep surviving because I was blown away that I'd seen them. And then I got on the train home. But I do feel like Shakespeare took over my week, really. So I saw a monument to him on Tuesday at Westminster Abbey, and then saw 6 where he's referenced. Wednesday I went to the Globe, which is obviously his theatre. Thursday I saw his first folio at the V&A. Friday... No, I tell you fib. Thursday was Anne Juliet, which he was a character in. Friday is where I saw his first folio. I've lost track of the days. And Saturday, I saw another folio, but not only that, in the street, I saw the actor Jason Watkins, who in Nativity plays the other teacher, like not Mr. Madden's, the teacher of the other school, who is called Gordon Shakespeare. So I'm going to have a Shakespeare-free day today. I swear to God, if I turn on the telly and there's like bloody Romeo and Juliet on or something, I'm going to flip my lid. Or Shakespeare in Love or something like that. I'm going to lose my mind. But yeah, the historical holidays are the best. And I've ticked off another Magnificent Seven cemetery. So 2 down, 5 to go. And next time I go, I'm going to try and avoid Shakespeare a bit more.